All right, man. We're back over here on Believe and also on Lions Day Unite, episode 2. I think it's episode 2 of our preview series. So at least with Eazy, I don't know. I think there was one in between, but with me and Eazy, we'll call this episode number 2. And today we have Lions, Titans. It's the biggest spread of the week. I think it's big. I don't know when's the last time we had a spread look like this. Yesterday it was 11 points. The Lions were favored against the Titans. It sounds like Will Levis probably isn't going to play again. So this is a weird one after the week that we just came off of, which was to me the best win of the season by far. Everything that went into it, and also just the way that we played, what we proved. So before we get into like this whole preview thing, we're going to talk some trade buzz. We're going to talk some injury, report rumors, those kind of things. Before we get into any of that, though, just like a quick little recap, because Eazy, I haven't really heard your thoughts. The Lions win last week. What did that mean? Like, what did you take? What was like the big takeaway from that kind of win for the Lions?
There's a huge, huge, huge takeaway for me, just for so many reasons. You go into that one against the undefeated division opponent, Minnesota Vikings, at their home. And I got to be honest with you, Dion, like if there's a home atmosphere that I think I want to go experience next year, it's going to be a Minnesota Vikings Detroit Lions game because that place looks insane. I hate all of our division opponents, maybe the Bears a little bit more than everyone else, but like that place, that atmosphere is crazy. I'm not gonna like the skull chant is kind of cool. I'm not gonna lie.
It's pretty cool to see. Yeah,
yeah.
Bro, see, okay, real quick. Just I was thinking, I thought about this a couple years ago. I'm glad that you said that because I haven't thought about it since. I felt like the Lions always needed something like that. And I think actually now they found it where it's like something simple, a simple little chant, something that gets everybody involved where it's not like, when you get those chants, you're like, I don't really know what everybody's saying. So you're kind of like, okay.
Yeah.
That's just basic. Everybody knows what it is. You don't have to know what's going on to get involved. So then it's like the wave. Everybody can get into it. Now you got something. Yes. I always felt the Lions were missing that. Like, what was the simple chant? Now, I guess it's just chanting Jared Goff. That kind of gets everybody rolling now because it's simple, it's easy. Is that the Lions? Is that their answer to that question, Jared Goff?
Yes, man. But, like, I was at the Pistons game last night and they started chanting the Jared Goff stuff. Can we just keep it a football thing? Like,
we don't have to do that.
Let these guys – and I'm on the Jared Goff bandwagon because of that game.
We're going back to that. He's a hater. It's okay.
I mean, renowned hater, no big deal. No, but I guess real quick though, because I am, this year not been hating Jared Goff in the MVP race. That game though, going back real quick to that, yeah, dude, you're going to that hostile environment. You lost arguably your best players, if not your best player on your team, in Aiden Hutchinson. So there's a lot of questions moving forward. Beyond them being undefeated too, they were like a vaunted undefeated team. Like no one liked playing them. That defense is giving everybody problems. Brian Flores, the hottest name in the NFL at that point, leading up to that matchup. And despite what Jared Goff, the success he had against Brian Flores last year, and even in 2022 when he's with the Dolphins as well, people are still talking about Brian Flores. People are still picking the Vikings to win the game. They were -2 favorites, and then the game starts, and we're down 10-0, and it looks bad. It looks bad, but no. That guy, that name, you talked about chanting Jared Goff, kept that California cool about him. And those young guys in that offense, when he's looking at them in the huddle, and he's just calm as could be, kept everyone even keeled. You even lost your starting running back, Dave Montgomery, at a certain point in that game, but it did not matter. They battled through every little bit of adversity. He's blitzed like 55% of the time, and I think they actually had a pressure rate of like 48% or something like that, but he still stayed strong. He knew where his landmarks were. He knew where his hot routes were going to be. It was executed beautifully. Only had 2 incompletions, and only one because a guy in defensive line got his hand on it. Like it was his year in this offense, his 3rd year. He's got this thing under complete control. Did you watch the Deadpool vs. Wolverine movie?
I didn't watch it. The cover looks cool though. Give me some insight,
dude. So the villain in that movie, she puts her hand like in people's like faces and then controls like their thoughts and like controls like everything. That's Jared Goff in this offense right now. He's got his hands in this thing and he's got complete control of it. And this offense looks unstoppable no matter what's phasing them. You literally just have to get your hands on Jared Goff to stop this offense at this point, because him operating year 3 of this thing is you can't do anything to it right now.
So CJ Stroud said like this was the most amazing thing he's ever seen defensively. It was like I've never seen something like that. Brock Purdy showing him love after the game. And then, you said like, okay, maybe I hate the Bears a little bit more, but you love the environment. Like I think any team that's doing good in the North, they become my least favorite team. In the North, like
Yeah.
it was the Packers always. I always hated the Packers, and now it's like, okay, I kind of don't like the Vikings. But for a while they were just kind of in the middle of the pack. That being said, though, like it was all of these storylines. Like I sometimes I try not to make it all about the storylines because there's always going to be headlines and like what's this guy known for. And sometimes it's true, sometimes it's not. But it was all of the buzz and all the love that people were throwing at Flores. And I'll talk a little crap here because we are coming off such a big win, and I'm fine with that.
Yeah,
we disrespected him. I mean, just to be honest with you, I thought we embarrassed Brian Flores, to be honest. Not as much Flores as much as all the people talking and hyping up Brian Flores to be this guy. Because what I heard at the beginning of the season, Easy? We came out, we looked a little rough. St. Brown was not very involved week 1. We looked a little off. I mean, quickly we've got the timing on point, which is great. Like it felt like we were forcing the Jameson the ball, which I think is very possible that we were. We were like, this is going to be the guy. He's got to get the football. So it felt like maybe we were doing that at times. And I was told like there's an answer. I remember people coming in and saying, man, hey, St. Brown, we got to figure it out. We've seen this Ben Johnson offense. There's an answer to this. So you got all that, and then the last couple of weeks we smoke a couple teams. We're dropping historic records, and we got this Vikings defense that's making the best, young quarterback CJ Stroud seeing ghost. And then we go out there and we just do exactly what we did last season. It's like all this personnel's better. We're gonna do what we did last season at a higher efficiency rate for Jared Goff. It just felt like they had no answers for it. And I think for the Lions, this is one. And here's what I loved about this because my Vikings. Hey, shout out to One Bar. One Bar is great. He had the quote that said, that basically Flying Flores was like, "Oh, we're gonna fight fire with fire." Yeah, and I thought that was kind of hilarious. Like he's fighting fire with fire, he's gonna get burnt, man. Because this, hey, you know what I'm saying? No. But the thing is I don't think that the way that they like to play stylistically matches up with us at all for the reason that you just laid out. And that was a great point. We're down 10-0. And we didn't feel like we were pressing. We kind of just stuck to the same exact thing we came on the first three. We're going to run the football. We're going to check it down. But I think that Goff's willingness to just take a check down and he doesn't have to like push the ball. He's fine with it being boring as heck. Like, all right, I'll throw it to the running back. I think a lot of other teams don't want to do that. Like I watched the Vikings and I feel like the Vikings are like, all right, today's NFL. Everybody's trying to go second level. Everybody's playing 2 deep safety. So we're going to kind of take that away. So we're going to blitz you like crazy. And then we're going to drop everybody back and we're going to step in front of those second level throws. And Goff's like, that's fine. I'd rather just take the check down. And that's what it felt like again in this game. It's like, he's just going to do that. And then to the points you laid out, we had some great answers, man. I always feel like even on defense, but offensively, more times than not, like it's at a very high clip, the Lions know exactly what the defense is going to try to get to, and they just seem like they have a great beater. It's not every time. There was even times in that game where it was like, that probably wasn't the best play for that. Nobody's open here. And you can see it clearly when they weren't prepared for what the defense went to, but most of the time they are. And that possession that kind of said it all was the possession, sure you remember this one, where we kept going backwards. Like it was like a 2nd and 14. Hit the out route, now it's 3rd and 9, we pick up the first down, and then we get across midfield, then we go backwards again. We have to find a way. We just kept finding ways to go forward. They had the big Tim Patrick pass. That drive kind of said it all because it really was all the great things about this offense. And then it starts to make you think about like, man, all of these guys that are returning. Like, we don't have a lot of new pieces in this offense. This is what it should be. It should be everybody knows where they're going to be. Goff's timing was the best I thought all season. I mean, he's throwing passes like.
Thank you.
The timing was so incredible, and I think this was the team where it was like, be willing to take the check down. Goff's more than willing to do that. And then number 2 was just like knowing where everybody's going to be in your offense. The Lions have that maybe better than any team because they just have so much continuity there, and I think it showed up against the Vikings. I just don't think the Vikings have a good answer for us. They're going to have to change the way they play us versus everybody else because what they're trying to do, I don't think it's going to work against us.
I'm with you 100%. And like going into this season, and actually I don't know the exact date because I had to find it because as you said, I am looked at as a Jared Goff hater. But on June 22nd, Tom Brady was on Colin Cowherd's show. Actually, it might have been like 2 days before, but June 22nd is the day that I found the clip. And I'm listening to Tom Brady, and Colin Cowherd just kind of, trying to get in the head or just in the backstory of like how Tom Brady came to win all these rings. And Tom Brady spoke on the continuity and cohesiveness of that offense. Like at that time, Josh McDaniels was like the longest tenured offensive coordinator. Bill Belichick, one of the longest tenured coaches. The offensive line coach, they all been together. And that's what the Detroit Lions have going into this season. We have the longest tenured offensive coordinator. Not just the longest tenured offensive coordinator, but a damn good one too in Ben Johnson. We had the longest tenured offensive coach or offensive line coach, and Hank Fraley. He could teach these concepts. We don't have one specific run scheme. Like most teams only have like one thing they do well. We can do everything well because we've been together so long. Tom Brady talked about just certain like route or certain like blitzes or coverages they've seen that worked against him in the past. They knew what worked against it because they had worked together so long. And so like that's what we have in this offense moving forward. That's why I said that day on June 22nd, this would be Jared Goff's best year in this offense, just because he'll be like that. And what if you mentioned the checkdowns, when they're what Tom Brady was known for that. People like to poop on Tom Brady, like, oh, he's not good as everyone says. He's the best quarterback. Yeah, because he took the open pass. And I remember it was Darius Slay who taught me that on the speakeasy, like when I first started in my basement, because we were having the Mahomes Brady like talk, and he was like watching the Super Bowl. He broke exactly how the Super Bowl was going to go down. He's like, Mahomes is always looking for the home run play, where Tom Brady's going to take what's there. That's what that Super Bowl was. Patrick Mahomes was going to have an offensive line, but still he could have found a check down rather than going. But like you can win games with those style of quarterbacks as long as they got their hand in it. You know what I'm saying? Put your hand in the mashed potatoes, hand in the pie, whatever expression you want to use.
Okay.
He's got control of it. He knows where everyone's going to be. So, like, yeah, send blitzes, put pressure. It's to a point now, like, I'm sorry if we're going too long on this, but
no, do it.
I'm just like, I'm in love with it. And we're all Lions fans, like, whatever. Yeah, we're relishing it a little bit here. Exactly.
We should.
The blitz, he always beat. You know what I'm saying? We always have that down. But now but he always did poor against the pressure. Now it's to the point with Jared Goff, even if the pressure's there, he's still finding his guys because he just knows where they're going to be. The timing, like you said, the landmarks, the hot route, like he knows.
Yeah, it was weird. Like, the Patrick throw was a big one where he like held onto the football, but there was like 3 or 4 plays in that game, like you're saying, where there was legit pressure and it would be charted as pressure. Yet it was like he was just beating everything by like a hair. Like it just felt like they were just barely getting the ball out. And to your point, like I want to see how that continues through the year, because that does feel like just the overtime preparation thing and getting everybody on the same page, where it's like now you're feeling that pressure, but you're just barely beating it because there's no hesitation. I mean, multiple of those throws, you have the Khalif Raymond one, right? Don't even think you saw Khalif when he threw the pass. You had the Laporta one where it's like he just trusted it's going to be there. We have the right play for this. It's going to be there, and I'll find him. You had the Patrick one. You had multiple throws like that where it's like we're just going to beat it by that much. And in the past, that much, that can go either way. That hasn't always went our way, so then you get the fumbles and things like that. But, yeah, I want to see how that continues going forward. I just love that it was against the Vikings, and to the point that you also, because I remember you posting that video on the herd with the Brady thing. I remember you bringing that up, and I remember talking about that a little bit. And back to Ben Johnson, man, Jared Goff had one of his worst games against Flores historically, long time ago. And I just think that what we're seeing here with Ben, like, first off, just keep coming back. Don't leave, Ben. You know what I mean? We'll keep paying it. That's it. Go fund it, whatever. Just stay here, because I think it goes back to year one, the allowing of Jared Goff to kind of like become like the true leader of the offense and not just kind of the placeholder that throws the football has now gotten us to this point where like he's clearly a different guy than what he was when he first got. He's not the same dude. He's running the entire show for us, and he's getting us into these looks where like, oh, okay, now somebody's open. And I give so much credit to Ben, because at one point it looked like that was the strategy to stop Goff. It was like, do that. Yeah. Like, we all know, to your point, he doesn't run well. So yeah, if you get him in a spot where there's nobody open and he has to run, you're gonna have a problem offensively because he ain't gonna do that. But the answer has been is like, get the ball out of your hands. That's what quarterbacks are supposed to do. And I just feel like in the past there wasn't always like the way to find that, and Ben has allowed him to kind of figure that out within this team, where now the full field feels like it's open for him, and it's just getting into the right looks that are comfortable for him. And that's where I give Ben all the credit, man, because this wasn't always Goff, and now he's a completely different guy, and now it's worth paying him this kind of money because of what you just said. The concerns that he had in the past, were answering those concerns in this last week. Yeah,
absolutely. And I don't know, I think this song might actually come from Dan Campbell, but remember the Tim Patrick where they put up in motion with the block Van Ginkel?
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah.
That's from Bill Belichick. That's like an old trick that he used to use. And obviously Bill Belichick, coming from Bill Parcells, Dan Campbell, Sean Payton, the tree, the Bill Parcells, like it's all just like, I think that one might have came from Dan Campbell, to be honest with you. But I mean, or if it's Ben, he's just like it. It could have been Ben. He is a super genius, but like, yeah, we have every offensive concept within our playbook, and it's awesome,
dude. And I mean that pass was incredible. But like, yeah, that's a good little note, because I didn't know that. I saw it. I always feel like every week, and there's probably a history of a lot of these plays coming from somewhere. I'm sure he's just a student, so he finds all of these things, and everybody else involved kind of figures these things out. And I almost feel like that this feels like the kind of coaching room where it's like, everybody's able to just kind of throw ideas out there. We're like, there's no, like, we can get as creative as we want. So like, don't limit yourselves in what we can actually think could work against this team. And I feel like that's what it is. Like, we know what they want to do. So I always think, like, when I looked at the Vikings team, like, we know what they want to get to as fans, but then my answers that I suggest, and then all of a sudden I see Ben Johnson go out there. He's got something like I never even thought of. Like, oh, that does make sense because, and it's just like things that you would never think of because it doesn't feel like you can go from week to week and say, well, this is what they do. This is what they do when they see this because it's so wide open. Like, they'll try anything if they feel like it has a chance to work. Even going back to the fake punt, the last point I'll say in this game, the fake punt at the beginning. I hated the fact that I caught. Hey, we're probably gonna do a fake punt because we got to play from the lead. And to your point, we fall down 10-0. The fake. It looked like they were ready for the fake punt, but it kind of, you know what it kind of gave me flashbacks to was the Packers game last year, man. Where it was like the Packers felt like they were ready for the fake punt, but it was also like kind of in their mind like, let's do the fake punt. And it's like, all right, maybe we shouldn't do the fake. We did the fake punt anyways. All right, this didn't work. Yeah. But to come back from 10-0, man, which has been the story for everybody all season long, makes it that much better. Because if you go up 10-0, then it's like, oh well, you know, we got to get out hotter. You know what I mean? They never play from behind.
Too yeah.
What's up?
10-0 in that madhouse. Too like that place is going crazy.
Hey, and shout out to Gibbs. Shout out to Gibbs.
Shout out to Gibbs. Yeah. He scored the first touchdown, didn't he?
Yeah, he broke it.
Yeah, 40-something yard. Yeah.
Dude, and the offensive line, like you were saying, I didn't realize this until we were preparing for the Cowboys game, and we know our offensive line's really good, but then when KO said there was a little bit shaky at the beginning, but he kind of settled in.
Yeah.
But then I go and I check out the Cowboys and those guys talking about their team after the game. We know that Dak, it was built on a great offensive line when he first got there, and I'm watching these dudes. Shout out to Voch, shout out to those guys. They're breaking down their offensive line. And I'm watching them, and I'm like, man, this is messy. Like, it looks like half the guys kind of know what they're doing, half don't. And I don't feel like we ever give that maybe the attention it deserves because you just kind of expect it or you don't see like when you see problems, it's easier to point it out. Look, that guy's not blocking anybody. What's he doing? But for us, it's so consistent that everybody's kind of on a string together. You just don't think about the fact that other teams don't have this. They don't have this luxury where it feels like everybody's on the same page all the time. And when they do have mishaps, it's rare rather than the other way around.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's Hank Fraley. Like, not only is he great at just like, getting a hold of these new concepts he's getting from Ben, but also coaching to the other guys, and like you said, the cohesiveness too. Like, it's cool because like even our backups now, like Coyote's been here 2 years now, 3 years now.
Yeah,
and, so it's like I don't know, man. Like, he's a really good offensive line coach, and I'm grateful for him. That's another reason I don't want Ben to leave because, rumors were when that was floating around there that if he left, he was going to be his offensive coordinator. And I was like, don't want Hank to leave either.
Yeah, I mean, and that is the offensive line. They're very patient with these guys. So we draft a couple this year. One of them we kind of know is not going to play at all. At least that's the hope in Manu, and it looks like Mahogany probably won't either. Like, they're very patient with, like, it's fine if it's year 4 before these guys see it. It's kind of like that with KO. It's like it's like they treat offensive line different. They know the importance of like just understanding everything because it's got to take a lot of time. And it's like kind of like that with Colby, it feels like as well here. It's like now it's moving to tackle. We don't need to rush him into anything, though. Let's just take our time. And that's felt like the difference. That position versus every other position is that we're going to give these guys a lot of time to figure it out. And then ultimately it's going to make sense. Okay, let's move over to the injury report for this Titans game because we have some IR news, and I wanted to touch on that first, just kind of get it out there. We got an update on Emmanuel Mosley, who we have not heard from for a while, but he was at the beginning of camp. I mean, he was starting over Amik Robertson, so it was like this is gonna. And during the offseason, it was I love the re-signing. Right, they told us the things about he was around the building, those kind of things, but it wasn't like Emmanuel Mosley didn't play well. It was just that he didn't play the year before. Like he was, we loved him coming from Stanford. I did. I loved him coming from Stanford. We loved to pick up. I mean, I'm sure we were on the same. Hey, this is the most talented cornerback that we got. Like when we had Okuda, we had that group. It was like, this most talented. We just got to get him on the field. And then it didn't happen. But their willingness to then resign him, which made it a great deal because it was so cheap to get him back again. And then he gets hurt again. And now it sounds like at some point he may return, which I know it stinks. Like you want these guys to return right now. But in some ways it could be a blessing for this team. If it's week 15, you lose a slot and it's like, hey, Manuel Mosley's coming back. And you're like, all right, we got a legitimate starting level player. What are your thoughts on that situation?
I everything you just said, like right on the money. Like I got in a little screaming match on the heavyweights with Spencer because when that signing happened, I was like, I love it. I was super extremely excited about it because again, like this is a guy that started for. I know the 49ers defense doesn't look like it used to, but it used to be really good defense for all you younger kids out there. I was kidding. But he was a starting cornerback on that team, and he was arguably like their CB1 in those situations too. So like he also the way he broke into the NFL was at that nickel spot. You know what I'm saying? Was playing the slot. So like he has that experience. He has experience of playing like the outside. I think that's something they value very much within this defensive scheme because so many guys are playing so many different roles or have been asked to play different roles when certain key injuries went down. I mean, look at Brian Branch playing safety. He was at the nickel spot last year. Like that's a huge plus. And then if you just look at him and his build alone, he's got those long arms. He's athletic enough to stick with guys. Like he was, like you said, he was arguably he was getting the starting reps leading into the season. And Meek Robinson was a guy you paid more money to when you signed him as a free agent. So like that's a huge plus for us. On top of another name I'm going to talk about pretty soon here too.
Yeah, we'll go to it, but right before we do I know we brought this up before, but the fact that I do like the fact that Brad Holmes, there is an extent where it's like, hey, if the guy's hurt all the time, let's not give him a 4-year deal. There is a balance to it, but when you look at the contract for Mosley, there's like nothing. I mean, there's no real. The only thing he's doing is take up a roster spot. That's the only downside potentially is he's taking a roster spot. I do like their fact and their willingness to kind of be like, I don't want to say patient, but like, hey, he had an injury, but we think that he can recover, whatever the medical reasons are. Like, this isn't a long-term concern. We think that he can get back. We're not going to just move off simply because of the injury if we can get him back on a super cheap deal, because it really can work out super cheap. It's not, I mean, it can work out so well for you where you're getting guys like this that play at a high level just because of injury that they're not going to get a deal anywhere else, like, or they're not going to get this long-term deal. So yeah, if we had to pay Mosley 3 years, $20 million, I'd be like, oh, that's questionable because he might not be there. But when you pay him 1 year, like $1 million, it's like, okay, that does make sense because if he's out there, hopefully when he comes back, third best corner, he could have been our second best corner coming into the year, just because Arnold's so young. All right, so let's transition. Then we'll go to the rest of the IR. Right, we have Kaminsky. We're hoping for the end of the season. Iffy, who potentially could be back soon. I know he's eligible for week 9. He's got the ankle injury. And then we have the weird Broderick Martin situation, if you want to touch on that a little bit. I mean, haven't really got any updates on Broderick Martin, at least from what I've seen, and we're not really sure where Broderick's at. So I thought when we had the injury to Pecco that it was like, okay, now Broderick Martin. I was like, oh, shoot, he's on IR. Like, I forgot that it was on IR. It's been a while. Maybe at some point we'll see him. I don't know there, but any other thoughts on the rest of the IR?
Too, like I don't even know if he's still ready to go full force the way they're going to want to use him. Well, I mean, he's going to have to at this point, I guess, because we don't have anybody else back there with Pecco gone. But yeah, I think it's a little bit. I don't know. It's definitely the injury though for right now. So he has to work on getting back from that one. I don't think there's any positive news. Otherwise, we would have heard it, especially with the Iffy stuff coming out and the Emmanuel Mosley stuff coming out, because like he was expected to come back sooner than both those guys.
Right.
Well, Iffy, I guess we don't know that he's coming back for sure, but we just know that he's eligible to return.
Right. Braddock's been eligible at any point. So the fact that we have no updates tells you, So on to the trade stuff, because I know you brought this up before we got on here, like just thinking about where our roster is at. There's still trade buzz about Max Crosby, and now it's to the point where Crosby's answering this. I'm seeing part owners try to answer the question, like, oh, are they going to move off him? I still don't think it's a possibility. That being said, though, because now it's been a couple weeks, I still think something's going to get done, but it hasn't happened yet. I still think for sure. Now, I go back to last, and I was different because last year it wasn't like we need to get a receiver right now. It didn't feel like that. We just kind of added one, and we did it during the trade deadline. We did it on the day of. We reacted to it live. So they could be patient. And you think about, I think it would only be the next two. Like, you missed the Titans game. I think that's fine. If someone misses the Titans game, I think you'd be okay. And then you have the Packers game, which you want to have someone in there for then. So I think if you got something done this week, you could have him potentially ready for the Packers game, at least in some sort of role. It'd be a great time to still do it. Do you still think a trade is going to happen? One. And I want to ask you this specific question, though. What do you think is the maximum the Lions would be willing to give up? I was thinking about this today. What do you think would be the maximum trade value the Lions would be willing to give up? And then if there's any other names that have caught your eye since that time?
Yeah, I mean, we like to claim that we speak Campbellese, over on the heavyweights. When we hear him talk, we listen. We can understand. We can translate through those words, the word salad, if you may. And straight up is not even word salad. He kind of tells you straight up what he's doing. And some people, I think, overthink it. But, like, I think they have Zarius Smith at the press of a button if they want to at any point. So first and foremost, absolutely, yes, a trade is happening. But there's a few more weeks to the trade deadline, and I think Brad is kind of holding out for some of those higher valued offers then maybe they'll come down, or maybe it's negotiating throughout the process. Because if you can get that guy, it just changes your projections. Although projections are still pretty high, obviously you want to complete the goal of winning a Super Bowl, and if you can get those names, I'm probably closing the chapter on Max Crosby. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'll probably close the book on that one. But Myles Garrett, because the Browns have only won one game, right? They're trying to relocate their stadium. They're going through a lot of changes as a franchise. What are you holding them hostage for? Get yourself, recuperate some draft picks, rebuild that thing, go get yourself a quarterback, get some pieces around him. They got to redo everything over there. But there's obviously been conversations for Zadarius Smith. I listened to Dan Campbell speak the other day, and he was like, yeah, it's just more like how many years does this guy have left in football? And what's the contract look like? What are we willing to give up for him? So immediately when he said how many years does this guy have left, I thought it was Zadarius Smith, because that he's 32 years old, right? And there's already rumors that we had those conversations with the Browns. And then the other part of it too, he said, or depends how much we have to give up. That made me lean a little more towards like, okay, maybe there was a conversation about Myles Garrett, and it was like Brad wasn't comfortable with what that price was, and that's why he's holding out. Let them keep losing. You let us keep winning. Your hand in negotiation, you get the upper hand at a certain point. Because like, brother, you just gonna keep paying them for nothing? Like we're fine, but we're 2-0 right now. Heading into that trade situation. So like a trade is happening, but I just think Brad's kind of holding out until last minute to hopefully get a deal, negotiate something he's more comfortable with to go get the high price guy. It may not even be Myles Garrett. Maybe I'm being but it could be Harold Landry or from the Titans or whoever it may be. I just think he has all options on the table, and he's taking his time with it because truthfully he can, and that's just the best way to do these negotiations. Don't rush into a bad deal,
Right. That's what I was thinking too as you were talking. It's like, and I love your perspective, by the way. Why are you holding him hostage? like Myles Garrett ain't that dude. You know why they're holding him, man. They know who he is. Yeah, but like, it feels like that is true. Like, if anything, the only team that's going to be desperate is the team that keeps losing, because their ownership will get that way. Like, hey, we're still losing, bro. We got to do something. You're going to be gone. Like that kind of. Then you start selling pieces. And that the longer you wait, it feels the more likely that price, because it almost feels like there's a chance that they kind of have like, hey, we're willing to go this far and that's it. We're not going further than that. So we'll put it out there. We'll let you know. And then if you guys can get to that, we'll do it. But if not, like you said, maybe it is like, hey, we got Smith. Because again, a guy like Smith or something like that, I don't think it's going to cost that much where it's like we're holding up because it might take a 5th round pick. Like, come on now. Right. I don't think it's that.
Just real quick too, I apologize, but like,
go ahead.
The veteran piece of that, he can jump in and play right away for the Packers game. He's been in multiple different schemes at this point in his career. Whether it's the coaches changing or just changing teams, you got a veteran guy. He's been around the game long enough to know different concepts and whatnot,
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. Okay, so we'll get to this Titans thing quick here. So, from an injury perspective for the Lions, I mean, it looks like they're pretty healthy going in this one. We have Pascal pop up with illness, which is kind of good because he was injured twice. He played over 50 snaps. But him popping up, I mean, it's not good that he has illness. Hopefully he's okay. But him not being listed with an actual injury, kind of gives you a little bit of like, okay, he might be all right. And then Kevin Zeitler's back. We know Mahogany's practicing. Getting Zeitler back would be big, and we saw that from the beginning of the game. I'll say this, because I saw that I think you posted this actually about not getting enough pressure. That's actually where I saw it first. So shout out to you. Hey, this is my Ian Rappaport, right? Yeah, like really, when you posted that and you're like, we need more. I was like, okay, Easy's on it. I gotta sit down and watch this. I was sitting outside. Let me sit down by the tree and watch this. From a pressure spot, they say they need more. I think it's very clear. Like, I don't think there's and you can say like there's things schematically I think they could try to do better. I think Glenn does a great job of trying to get like even this week he was bringing out the cornerback. Hey, it was like, and I'll be fair, because the Vikings pass pro was strong. Like, they weren't a bad team, I thought, pass protection wise coming into the game. They did a really nice job against the Jets. So it's like the only time you get them is like, it felt like when you get guys unblocked, and that's tough to do. But it was pretty easy to like walk away and not be like conflicted. Like, oh, do we need more? You're like, yeah, we need more. All right, we're just not getting pressure. Levi did a couple things. You had a little bit from the inside, which we expect, but from the edge there was basically nothing happening. We do need a little bit more, and I think that's very, very clear. That's clear to you, right? Like, there's nothing else that needs to be said about that? Okay.
And no disrespect to Sam Darnold. Anybody better back there, it could have got ugly.
So what you're saying is the Stafford rumors, you think there's some legitimacy to that?
No,
just a quick side note. I'm just asking a question. Oh, no. You don't like that?
Oh, no. Like that? Unless it comes from like a Chef D or rap, like why would anyone believe?
His name was like Dov or something, so he sounded pretty legit.
What was his last name?
I think his first name was like Dov, D-O-V.
Oh,
sounds legit to me. That's a fire name. That's a fire.
That was not even a real person, actually. You know that?
Well, Did
You
not know
click on
that.
that profile picture, it's a cartoon. That person does not exist. It's not a real name.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
it's just like
So
one
it
of those.
came from like Disney Channel or something.
Yeah, I guess it's like engagement farm account. Honestly, he's killing it, but like, you
I
know,
thought Dob was legit. All right, Dob, you out here finessing me. I'll tell you
no,
that.
yeah, no, Dove's gonna post anything that's gonna get clicks because that's just,
Wow.
he's just making money.
All right, new show title: Exposing Dov. Dov has gotten
Oh,
exposed
everyone hates
live.
Dove.
Or
Yeah,
are you serious, man? See, I didn't know that. I didn't know
I'll,
that. See this? Okay, get
I'll
on
put you
X,
on the link.
follows Speak Easy Sports. Um, because he knows all the ins and outs about Dov. I thought it was legit when I was driving. I'm like, Dov looks legit. I didn't even zoom in on the pic. He looked legit. He got a lot of followers. I'm just assuming, but I will
That's
say,
fame.
very very quick side note: I would get it. Like
Oh,
if
for
there
sure.
wasn't, I would completely get it. I'm like
Yeah,
because I understand Darnold's stats are good, but then you watch him, you're like, he doesn't look that good. Like I already prepared, and I was like, he doesn't look that good. I could see where you're looking at, like, man, we're 5-1, bro. If he hits that pass to Jefferson, we might be 6-0. We're two
yeah,
games up in the division, but now here we are because the dude threw it over his head. Like if they're like, let's just go all in, let's go win a Super Bowl. I wouldn't completely not understand it, but I don't think it can happen because it's like the Rams. It's just weird. It's like, yo, you're playing the Rams on Thursday. How does this come
yeah,
out on Monday? Like, are they gonna
yeah. No,
and
it's
then the
not.
spread's like 2. All right, we'll move on from that. Okay, so we got this Titans game. Quick injury update there on the Titans side. It sounds like Rudolph is going to play for the second straight week for the Titans. That loss to the
Yes.
Bills, it was an ugly one. Even though Will Levis did return to practice, the good thing for the Titans is it sounds like they're getting their backs. Well, they're getting Tajay Spears back potentially in this one. Obviously, Tony Pollard's kind of one of their main dudes. They're getting a little bit healthier in some key spots there, and we could talk about that if there's anything that stands out to you. But then also they made some trades, and it was DeAndre Hopkins who's out, Ernest
Yep.
Jones who's out, two of their better players on this team. So what stood out to you with the injury report or kind of just roster-wise heading into this one?
For the Titans,
Yeah, for the Titans.
I mean, that's
Anything
kind of
stand
it,
out?
right? Oh, actually,
Okay.
Calvin Ridley out with a foot injury, I guess.
He's like officially out?
Oh, not out, but just
No practice.
didn't practice. Yeah, it's not like a rest
Okay.
day for him either. I don't know if you saw that. Yeah, so Calvin Ridley,
Right.
obviously, you know who he is. He's pretty decent wide receiver. And then
So,
L'Jarius Sneed didn't practice as well. If the practice report that I'm looking at, like the guys that are just out for rest, they have it on there. Dash rest.
right.
L'Jarius Sneed, Calvin Ridley, foot, calf, no dash rest next to those words. So
Yeah, it's legit.
and did not participate. Actually, you know what? I do think no, yeah,
The Legarius Steve
no
one is legit, yeah.
participation.
Yeah. So yeah, they could have some big. It's probably why the spread is like it is. So we'll move into then our players to watch for this game. We did this when we did this last time. We talked about both sides. A couple guys that we think are going to be the
Yeah.
swing players for this game. So I'll give it to you first on this one. Lions or Titans player that you're focused on for this game. Who you got?
I don't want to be, dismissive of the Tennessee Titans. I do think they have a pretty solid defense.
Yeah.
I think actually they're number one right now in run defense, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, probably more so because with the injury to David Montgomery last week, you're probably looking at wide receivers or maybe even a Sam Laporta in this one. I think Sam Laporta, maybe like a Cleve Freeman, Tim Patrick. Those are the names I'm looking for, especially if Jameson Williams ends up coming out with this suspension. I don't know if we talked about that either. It's been
We did not talk about that. You
I'm
you
down
have
if you
any
want.
insight on the situation with
Not
Jameson
in terms
Williams?
of not in terms of what substance he took. I do want to clarify this though for like Vikings fans specifically because I guess all their parents are cousins. It's a PES, performance enhancing substance, not performance enhancing drug. So this is something that could happen within, say you took an over counter gas station pill to have a good time with your lady. Maybe something's in there that you're unfamiliar with. Maybe you have a prescription medication that you didn't clarify with the league before the season start. Like there's Sudafed is on there. If you had a cold, I'm saying, like, that's like the substance list is that thin. There's masking agents. There's
Man, I saw
diuretics
alcohol
there.
on there. I don't know if that's legit or not. I saw alcohol listed.
I have the list if I could send it to you if you'd like, but
Okay.
yeah, there's not necessarily they're not like performance enhancing. There's nothing anabolic. That's why the suspension is only 2 games. If it's ever anything like that serious, where it's like a drug or like you're taking something to enhance your performance, then that's why you get the 4-game, 6-game suspensions or even longer. 2 games means you just messed up. You took something that you weren't supposed to take. But the inside stuff that I have on that one is that Jameson Williams can play this week because he's got like a 5-day window to determine whether he wants to appeal the suspension or just let it be and just take the 2 games on the chin like he had rumored to.
Gotcha.
tomorrow is his last day. There's a 3 to 5 day window. From talking to Justin Rogers, it sounds like it's leaning towards a 5 day window. If you got the news on Monday, because I think that's when it came out, like Monday night, if I'm not mistaken. So tomorrow he can make his decision, and unless the NFL like this, shuts down the appeal right away, or he just turns it in, then he won't play for Tennessee and Green Bay. Or the window could be open long enough where he plays against Tennessee. But where are you at with that one? Would you rather him just take it on the chin, get rid of it now, or you think?
Yeah, I mean, hearing you talk about that, like if it sounds like he's not going to be able to win, I'd just take it on the chin, bro. Miss the next 2 games. Because like I hate to not have you for the Packers, but at the same time we've won without you versus the Packers, and and now they have a great second. I go without J, and I'm cool with playing the Titans without Jameis. That's probably the one game on the list to be like, well, if you don't have J-Mo, yeah, let's play the Titans.
Yeah,
so I'd miss this one, and it's early enough in the season where I want to get him back sooner than later. Like I need to get this guy. I still don't know if we're all the way there with what we need out of Jameson for the Super Bowl run. Right? I feel like you want more from him, so let's get him back sooner than later. I just eat it now.
Yep. Yeah,
okay,
I'm
cool.
looking at
So,
the same thing.
Well, I like the names that you threw out there to start. Kylie Freeman. I mean, he was huge. I think this is the best game he had last week, and it was kind of like coming in. Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Laporta is the name. I apologize. I was kind of just thinking
Laporta is the name.
Laporta is the name. I think the linebackers are kind of poopy in coverage
without Jones. Yeah,
and I think they'll. We got Jeffrey Simmons. They drafted one kid from Texas. I think they'll be solid up against our run enough where we'll just start using play action down the field with Sam Laporta and whoever else may be playing the slot.
Yeah, it's a pretty nice defensive line. Like their edge has been a little mediocre. I feel like you brought up Harold Landry and Arden Key, but on the inside. Hey, on the inside, they got some dudes. The inside they got, and then we'll see on the Snead thing, because at cornerback, I feel like they're pretty well-rounded, but if they don't have Snead, then they're missing that guy at that spot. But I also do like so for me, I like the Roger McCreary matchup, him in the slot on St. Brown. I always look for that one first. Like, what is that going to look like? And I just feel like there's an advantage here. I like McCreary, but I feel like there's an advantage there. But I go through the Titans offense, and this is a team that has been terrible on third down this season. And when you watched them play last week, they felt like they almost felt like us in the early years, where it was like, okay, we can't make mistakes. We're going to really just run the football, play action, check the ball. Like there was there. It felt like they had no explosiveness in their offense at all. And now not having Hopkins doesn't help. I feel like they had no explosiveness. Their pass protection's kind of shaky. It was like, let's lean on Pollard. As Spears comes back, we're going to lean on that. So I'd say Pollard's their best offensive weapon right now. It feels like hands down. And they got these tight ends that you're like, I've never even heard of that guy, but they're getting involved because of just how their offense kind of works. So I don't even want to go to that name because they're involved, but they don't feel like they're the huge threats. It's more of a schematic thing. But Tony Pollard, I mean, they'll put him at receiver. They'll give him the jet handoff. So I think Pollard's a guy circle. He looks like the most talented player they have offensively, and it feels like their offense is going to run through that, especially if Rudolph plays. And I think the big thing for our team has been our linebackers have shown up. Our linebackers, I mean, Alex has been awesome all year, it feels like. Malcolm was big time last week. Like he was all over the place. And then Jack Campbell, who, there's still things I want to see get better, but against the run, he's just racks up tackles left and right. He just finds the football. So I feel like the growth that unit has taken this week, and now you see it against this team who doesn't have their 6 offensive linemen. They're going to use Daniel Brunskill in that spot, and the running back being their biggest threat. I'd love to see those linebackers against that running back.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I think it's great. Alex doesn't get enough love. I think he's one of the better coverage linebackers in the entire National Football League, straight up. And now he's back at the wheel. He can do his thing. Go back to that Rams game. He popped off on tape. Last week, I think he popped off on tape. Shout out to Malcolm Rodriguez as well. But yeah, Alex is the one who deserves some love.
So I got just another quick thing here just to keep it. This is a team that doesn't create pressure. The Tennessee Titans, 15.7%. They don't create pressure. Kind of the point I made earlier.
Crazy.
It's weird. It's kind of weird when you look at their team, because you would probably expect them to create a little bit more pressure out of that.
Right. I think
any team that. Yeah, I like their personnel, and it's just you got a team, especially without Jones. Jones was a pretty effective rusher for when he was an LA Ram. You take him now out of the mix. Their linebacker room, it's okay, but you take him out of the mix, and it's very understandable why Seattle made that move, because Seattle needs to get better against the run. Teams that don't create pressure against the Lions, I always feel like have a problem. Like they don't blitz at a super high rate, only 24%. But if you can't create pressure against the Lions, I feel like you're in for probably a long day. Like I said, I like their back end. Their safety position, I think, is pretty strong. They have our boy Diggs over there. I like their back end, but when you can't create pressure, I just feel like you're walking into big time problems. So I think that just as a whole could lead to a big Goff game. That's kind of what I'm thinking in this one.
Yeah. I think all our guys could have. I think we may see. Again, I don't want to sound disrespectful, but we might see Hendon Hooker this game at some point, because it could just get. I know that sounds bad, but it just anybody can go off in this one. I'm not. There's no threatening manner outside of maybe the run defense. You know what I'm saying? Which again, I think we can still scheme our way through that.
Yeah, they got Kenneth Murray flies around a little bit. They got solid pieces, but Jones was kind of the glue it felt like of that room, and that's why
Yeah,
I like the Titans coming in this year. I took the Titans over the Bills last week, so I'd be sounding a little bit crazy. I mean that was horrible, but I didn't know Mason Rudolph was gonna play. You know what I mean? That is what it is. I can't predict the future. I didn't know he's gonna play, and then he went out there and they just couldn't score. But defensively, like they hung with him at the beginning of that game because it was
yeah.
like, oh, this is a well-rounded defense, which is why I have a little bit lower score. Okay, do you have another player that you're watching for this game for either side of the ball?
Put Samuel Potts out there. Let me put out a Gibbs out there. I don't know what the situation with Dave Montgomery. I know he practiced. Me personally, I'm probably just putting my fan bias in this. I'd rather him take a few less reps, keep him clean. We already went through our bye week. Maybe Gibbs, step up, take control of this game where you're the hot hand, and let our boy Monty rest a little bit there.
So how about this, right? Amik Robertson, who's playing a lot right now. I
Yeah.
want to see Amik have a big day. I don't feel like Amik's had that. I think he's
Mhm.
actually had some trouble at times in coverage. He was falling down a couple times against but he's they're tough schematically. This I think will be a little more simplified when you see this team. And when they get in the third and long, they're a little more simplified in kind of the looks that you can throw out there. And it'll be kind of, to me, personnel. Like, how do you match up with these guys? Like Tyler Boyd, we saw last week. Tyler Boyd is a big piece for that, especially if Ridley doesn't play and now Hopkins.
Yeah.
They're going to want to go to him. And Amik's probably going to see him a lot. I want to see a guy like Amik Robertson pop. I want to see him have a couple pass breakups, him come up with a pick, him do something that kind of stand, because Branch is incredible. Terrion, I think, just came off his best game of the season. I loved watching Terrion. And then Carlton Davis, we know we get in there. Hey, Terrion's going the right direction. We can talk about that for a second. I want to see Amik pop. I think that matchup's going to be massive against
Yeah.
Tyler Boyd. But how about Terrion? Terrion's going this way. He's going, if you can't see it, he's going up.
He had a couple reps against Justin Jefferson. I was like,
Mm.
was that Terrion? It's okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
He looked
man.
like the best corner last game. Unless we count Branch as a corner, then he doesn't. But he looks like the best corner last game.
Yeah, Terrion's been looking. It's so crazy because like you always say like, oh, it's early season, like he'll get better. Like you always just tell yourself those things.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I feel like we've literally watched week by week this kid get incrementally better. Like I don't know. We're just watching it in front of our eyes. I never watch it like. I guess I never watch it be linear like that. You know what I'm saying? Usually it's like okay, and then a high spike, and then okay, like we're watching them week by week. It's awesome. It's been awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, and it almost the game looks like it's kind of slowing down for him. I think
Mhm.
like Terrion looks a little bit more. He looked like more college Terrion, where it's like these physical things that you like about him. It feels like it's slowing down. And I thought the big thing is maybe this is back to our defensive backs coach, bro. He looked just like. I think in the NFL it's different. Like you could have these athletic skill sets and these ball skill, which shows up every game. The guy is like a menace as soon as the ball goes. He's just flying around. But it's like the game has to slow down. Like you have to play with anticipation. You have to be on top of expecting certain routes, expecting them to want to go at you a certain way, because otherwise, like they're going to be the same athletes on the other side. Like you can't just out athlete the other guy. And I just felt like last game it looked like a dude that was like, okay, they want to get at me like this. Let me play him like this.
Yes.
It's like he knew how they wanted to go after him, and I think that's been the difference. And I think that's why Terrion's trying. The game feels like it's slowing down. He's looking like more of that freaky athlete that we took out of Alabama.
Yes. Yep, and I know everyone was talking about this defensive class, or at least like the defensive backs in this class were more projects than they were like ready-made products ready to go. And I viewed it the same way, to be honest with you too. But like Terrion, we got the whatever you want to call it, whatever brick of clay you got, and AG's slowly, morphing him into a guy that looks like he could be a guy for us for a long time. And we haven't had one of those. Shout out to Carlton Davis too, who's holding it down.
Yeah, man, it's nice to have Carlton, bro. Carlton just steadies everything, and I love the approach. Like, hey, we'll take our defensive flags, bro. We're gonna be physical. I think that's how you throw off the best offenses. If you're gonna have a chance against the best offense, look, they're gonna get DPIs. It's the NFL. It's how they do it. They're gonna make big plays. It's the NFL. But it's like if you're gonna give other teams, if you're gonna like retaliate and fight back, talking about fighting fire with fire, you gotta just be willing to eat some of these flags, man, because. The truth is, the NFL today, bro, everything goes to the offensive side. So we're going to eat a couple flags. We're going to at least draw off your time. You saw Justin Jefferson. They pressed him a ton. Like, they were just jamming that dude. A couple times, maybe it didn't work, but most part, it was like they're throwing it off. And Jefferson had his, like, I don't know, statistically speaking, probably his most in-check game that he's ever had against us, I want to feel like. Like 7 receptions, 90 yards. That was, like, that's pretty good. It was the same thing last week with CD. It was like, we'll take that. I feel like I love the strategy.
going into that game, I could be wrong on this in the exact numbers, but I feel like I'm fairly accurate. Going into that game on the season, he was like 3 of 11 on press man coverage for like 89 yards and a touchdown. It's like the press man does give him issues, and he's been working the slot a little bit more too. I wonder if maybe that's why. I don't know what it is, but yeah, the press man's been giving him some issues this year.
Hey, and there's on Darnold maybe a little bit. Darnold be missing some things. He misses some things.
Yeah.
But like we threw off that timing, and I just think that's how I always felt about the Packers. You're gonna throw off their timing, and they have the personnel to do that. And them leaning into that now, I think bodes well for 2 weeks from now. So, all right, those were our players to watch for this one. Unless you had any other that you wanted to add, those are our players to watch. Let's go to the final aspect, which is we got to give a score prediction here. We got an 11-point spread, but last time I've seen it, it's probably moving, though. Where are you at on this one? Give me your score, because now you're saying Hendon Hooker's going to play. Someone said, hey, he better be in by the third quarter. I'm like, all right, we got to calm down a little bit. This is not like it's not the worst defense of all time, where it's like I expect 45 points. What do you expect? What's your score prediction?
Maybe I shouldn't be so dismissive and disrespectful.
Well, you can be. I mean, he might be right. We've blown out a couple teams. You know what I mean? We basically beat the Cowboys twice a couple weeks ago. So if you want to do it, go ahead.
30-14. Is that
okay?
Is that crazy?
No, I don't think so. 30-14 sounds reasonable.
Yeah, 14-30 Lions. Detroit Lions.
Okay. I mean, hopefully at that game, you might get Hooker in at some point if you win it by. That's a comfortable win if they're scoring late. If it's like 30-7, you're holding on to it. They might get Hooker in at some point in that.
I mean, keep our guys healthy. I could be wrong though. Dan Campbell likes to, put the foot on the gas, but
yeah, they do.
I want to keep our guys healthy for the division opponents we got coming up, following week. Win or lose, by the way, too. That's not just like I'm cocky. We're gonna beat these guys so bad. That game matters more next week. And they beat the shit out at home, on Thanksgiving, and I still got that bad taste in my mouth. So,
no, it does. It matters a lot. And for me, I'm going to go a little. I think if you look at it for the season, teams have done horribly covering the biggest spread of the week so far. So far this year, they've been bad again. And I think the win against the Vikings maybe propelled people a little up. Like, oh, they beat that team who we had favored. Yeah. I'm going to say it's a little bit because I do like this Titans defense. I think they can give us some problems in this one and kind of come out. We could get out a little. Now, I don't think we'll come out slow. I think we'll come out fast, but they could have success at times in this game. And then it's just like, can Rudolph do enough? I don't think they're explosive enough to hang. So I'm going to go 27-17. I think they can potentially hold the spread depending on what that number is going to be set at. But I think it's a comfortable win. So I got us by 10 in this one. But we're pretty much on it. We got a couple field goal differences. We're on a similar.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. My prediction was better, but we were. Look, hey, how did we do last time we predict? I don't even know.
I'm number one in our fantasy league right now.
But that's crazy. You blame Zay Flowers for that trash, dog. I was down by like 10 points. Zay Flowers did absolutely nothing. And they scored like 50 points. You can't catch a pass. I mean, they threw it to him one time. They just stopped. Look, man, I'm not complaining, but I am a little bit. Zay Flowers got cut. So, if you want him, go take him. He's trash. Anyways, man, we appreciate y'all joining episode 2. Or over here with our preview prediction series. I don't know what we're calling this, but over here with Eazy, man. This was a lot of fun. Is there anything else you want to hit on before we get out of here?
Just my dog today, man. He just
man. Yeah, I heard that. Dang dogs, bro. What kind of dogs?
Actually, you know what? Guys, comment your score predictions in the chat or in the comment section, and make sure to like button, subscribe button. If you guys are listening to Believe podcast, make sure you're leaving reviews. 5-star reviews from my guy Eazy Dion, so we get this stuff out here, man. Appreciate you guys. Go Lions.
There it is, man. All right. We appreciate y'all joining, and we'll see you guys hopefully next week. Go Lions, like you said.